Well, that was an interesting ride. I coming down to Irvine to do some things for the day, and I turned the lift on to just to see if I can catch any rides as I'm going down. And I got a really good ride from way out in the Inland Empire down here to Anaheim. I don't really know where I am. The area looks a little dodgy. I don't know. But anyway, very interesting ride. It was a young woman, such a delightful young woman. And we were together a long time, almost 30, 40 minutes together. And, usually I don't talk about religion with people. I don't bring it up. It's just because I don't necessarily want to make people feel awkward. And I don't even really make innuendo, or even hint at it. But this woman basically just right off the bat, just going along, she just kind of asked me, my religious beliefs. Okay, so I told her, and I'm an atheist. Or as I told her, atheism speaks to what I'm not really, which is I'm not. I don't believe the claims of deity. So I'd rather use a label. If I was going to use a label myself by what I am, which is I'm a skeptic, kind of if you can use the word, a rationalist, maybe. I prefer to operate in the world in a framework of reason, examining the input and stimulus around me, and trying to measure that against the reality that I already know, that I can develop and use models to predict how things work in the future. It's basically the scientific method. But that's a lot. That's a mouthful. So you just say atheist, which is kind of puts things into perspective. But now she was so cute, in a very adult fashion. She was I respect this young woman a lot. Very hardworking, taking care of herself, doing all these things. But it was kind of cute the way she kind of flustered in the back and giggled, and she said, "Wow, you're the first atheist I've ever met." It's like, I wonder if that's what it's like if you're like, if you're like, well, I do know what it's like. I do know exactly. I was gonna say what it's like to be black, and I've never met a black person, but I do know exactly what that's like because I've been in Japan, in places where people have never met or seen a foreigner, and they kind of wow. But it was more of a philosophical thing or not even philosophy, because religion really isn't philosophy; it's faith. Um, so we had the most delightful conversation, and she was really curious about my worldview. She didn't understand how she was curious about how I have values and what my values are, and I tried to explain to her that my values are based on the experience that I've had in life, grounded in the structure of how I was raised, and that it's a constantly developing and unfolding process of refining that my values typically are malleable, which sounds like a fearful thing. How can you have values that change? Well, sometimes my values are just wrong. Sometimes I can have values that speak more to prejudice, or bias, or unlearned perspective that can change. So we talked about that. We talked about family. We talked about um, intangible things like love. It was very interesting, and I tried to keep it very light and friendly. I'm not a confrontational guy, and she was very open to that. And she actually, when she left, she said, "You've given me a lot to think about." And I wasn't going out of my way to. I'm not trying to win over converts, but she said in particular, "You've given me cause to think." And that's interesting, cause to think, because that's exactly what my perspective is. That's exactly what the position of reasonists are, of the way that I go through life. So I guess I must say that that was the closest thing even when I use the word evangelizing, proselytizing, the lack of faith. But to actually have a young woman tell me that she told me, she says, I take a lot of what I believe, I ground it in just accepting it, without the word she was struggling not to use was faith, but she was saying that she doesn't think these things through, and that she's told me that she had cause to think things through a little more. Interesting. Very interesting ride. Okay, well now it's time to stop this and get back to it. Okay, talk to you later.